solving inequality through financial education. That's what we want to do here at Lokshin Online Learning Academy. And that's what I believe in. That's why I started this community as the government guy, as Chief Gasi Economist. Today, in South Africa, we live in a country where extreme inequality amongst the citizens is a reality. The rich keep on getting richer, while the poor keep on getting poorer. And if you think I'm lying, here are some economic statistics to back this up. South Africa's Gini coefficient, which is a number between 0 and 1, was calculated to be approximately 0.69 based on income data. This income data includes salaries, wages, and social grants, and so on, and and this was in the year 2011. The Gini coefficient is a statistic that measures the distribution of income in a country, where 0 indicates perfect equality and 1 indicates perfect inequality. The Gini index is a measurement of income distribution of a country's resident. This number, as I said, ranges between 0 and 1 and is based on residents' net income. So this basically helps define the gap between the rich and the poor. And 0 represents perfect equality. Everyone is equally wealthy. And 1 represents a perfect inequality. Between 0 and 1, Tina sigu 0.69, and that's very close to 1, very close to a perfect inequality, because Mozopeg 0.50, that's half of it, and Tina sigu said we don't even below half, we are 0.69, so that's like 0.7, that's like 70% of inequality in South Africa. And this is something that's very disturbing if you think about it. And there's also another way to rephrase the same statement and look at it at a consumption perspective, because in macroeconomics, when we are aggregating the national accounts, like your gross domestic product, this can be represented in 3 different ways, as economists would put it. You could either calculate the gross domestic products of a country through a production approach, which means you would consolidate all the production that has been made within the country, the production of goods as well as services, and compile all that data and come up with a figure of gross domestic products, because it's the production that has been made within the country in a certain year or in a certain time period, and come up with a gross domestic product. So it's okay, this is the production that has been made within that specific country. But also, the same GDP can also be calculated through an income approach and also a consumption approach, because if you look at the production, what is produced is then consumed. So production should be equal to consumption. But also, you can't consume more than what you earn. So consumption should be equal to income. So you find that production is equal to consumption, but consumption is also equal to income. That's a formula for fundamental macroeconomics, but it basically tells you it's the same money. The variation of the formula might be in terms of the imports and exports. So some of the goods we produce are exported, while some of the goods we consume are imported. So you have to say less those goods that are imported and add those goods that are exported, because those are still our goods, and that's still our production. So basically, the income that we have is derived from the production of goods and services in the economy, and the consumption that we partake in the economy is directly related to the income we earn, because you can't consume more than you earn. Yes, there's easy debt, I understand, but for calculation and for simplicity, production is equal to income and is also equal to consumption. So, with that explained, another way to put this Gini coefficient into perspective is to look at consumption as opposed to looking at income, because we were looking at the income per capita data. We were looking at our salaries, wages, and social grants, and we found the Gini coefficient was 0.69 based on that income data. But as I said, another way to rephrase this is to look at it in a perspective of consumption. And this is what I have to say. In South Africa, the richest 20% of the population accounts for about 61% of consumption, while the poorest 20% of the population account for only 4.3% of national consumption. So this basically means that the richest 20% of the people in South Africa who hold the majority of the wealth account for 61% of the consumption. Only about 20% of the people. So they have a lot of power, and if they change their spending habits, it affects the economy kakhulu, because these people are only in the 20% of the population, but they control so much of the consumption and so much of the income, because you can't consume more if you don't have. They consume more goods because they have more income. And while the poorest 20% of the population accounts for only 4.3% of national consumption, because they don't have the income to consume. This is basically something that's said, and I have some stats here, and as well as a screenshot I took on the Stats SA website. It basically backs up what I was saying, because I didn't just take it off thin air. It's something that's backed up by Stats South Africa, and yeah. So I'd like to know from you now, are you ready to start investing on the JSE and grow your wealth over time? Because we also want to be a part of that richest 20%. But the only way we can do that as South Africans in townships and in rural areas, South Africans in suburbs, but as South Africans who are in the working class, if you want to start creating your wealth, you should participate in the JSE. And if you want to participate in financial markets, it's important to acquire information and knowledge. And that's why people always say knowledge is power. It's powerful because once you have it, you automatically have the power to change your position, whether financially or socially. Once you have knowledge, you can better yourself. You have the power to think yourself out of a problem and the power to think yourself into a profit. But I also know that learning and studying is never a fun thing to do. But the matter of the fact is that all the efforts that lead to success are usually never fun. But with time, you learn to enjoy them and understand them. And you also learn how to discipline yourself for the greater good. So join us at Loction Online Learning Academy and learn how to invest your money on the JSE. Sign up for the Introduction to Online Trade Trading series. Head over to lockchainlearning.com and sign up for a free membership and start your journey to financial freedom. Also, if you love this podcast, don't be afraid to give us a rating on iTunes and also give us a review. Do you love us? Do we give you content that is timely, that is accurate? And yeah, and also give us a rating. The rating it starts from 1 to 5. And if you've turned a pair of 5, if you must turn, you sneak 1. But I don't think you guys don't love us. So please take a moment of your time to share this podcast. If we are later on our website, just share. You can have social sharing buttons. You can share it on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook. Take a moment of your time and share, because sharing is caring after all. So from the government guy, aka Chief Gasi Economist, Samkelo Makoko, I'd like to say goodbye and enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you.